All right. Good afternoon. So for yesterday, I was supposed to have done this one, which is variables and data types, with respect to the outline we had. So because of the fact that I came back late, that's why. So we're looking at variables, constants, and then numeric strings, booleans, and then some other type conventions that we have. So the main thing now is that because we need to work with data, we need to understand what variables are and as well as know what data type we are working with, right? So with this now, we should be able to ascertain what data type we are working with and be able to differentiate between variables and constants. So that's what we are basically going to do. So very quickly, variables and constants. So a variable is just a name that is used to store a value, right? So I told us, sorry, that I told you on, I think 2 days ago that if I should have um, a variable name, let's say for instance, I have a variable name and the value assigned to this variable is even, right? So that is what a variable is. So it's a name that is used to store a value. So this value even is assigned to this variable. So once I see name as a variable, the value that's assigned to it or the value that is stored inside of this variable is known as even. So variables also make programs dynamic and reusable. Yeah, why I said dynamic and reusable here is that once you have assigned a value to a particular variable, you'll be able to reuse that variable on the go, right? So, like I've assigned name here to Eben, and I want to write another line of code, I can simply call on this variable name and it will still display the value which was assigned to it to be Ben, right? So that makes it reusable and at the same time dynamic. That means at any point in time I need to make use of that value. I can call the variable name and it will bring out the value for us, right? And another thing we should take note of is that in Python, we don't need to declare the type. Yes. So this is one of the reasons why I usually prefer Python to every other language when it comes to learning data science, right? So you don't need to declare the value or rather the type of variable. So for instance, I showed you the other day when we're dealing with metadata. So let's see if we can fetch that guy out. I think we're working with a metadata. I can't really place my hand on it now. Let me see. Okay. But what I'm saying in essence is that in JavaScript and in C++, you realize that for you to be able to um, assign a value to a variable, you need to declare what kind of data that value is before you can assign it to a variable. So, but when it comes to Python, you assign a value. So it's Python itself that will now try to process and tell you what type of data that is. So, well, that's one of the good things that Python does. So then talking about constants, constants are just a normal thing we know in mathematics that and physics that a constant is a value that should remain unchanged, right? So if I have a constant like pi, so wherever I go to, my pi should still remain 3.14159. So it shouldn't, I don't expect it to change, right? And then, so Python do not have constants, right? But by convention, constants can are named using uppercase, right? So if you want to name your constants, let's say for instance, you're working with or you're trying to estimate the original oil in place, and then you're trying to make some assumptions with respect to the area of the zone you're working with. So you realize that you may want to say probably your area should be 640 acres, right? So if your area is 640 acres and you realize that that assumption is true, and then if you're declaring 640 acres for your area, you should be able to know that the area should be in capital letters and all other constants, probably your conversion constants from cubic feet to barrels and all that, right? And then constants are named using uppercase. So that's one of the things we should take note of. So this is just a typical code example I presented here. So the first thing is name, and then I assign the value known as event to the name. So remember I told you whenever you have a value inside or enclosed in a quotation mark, be it a single or a double quotation mark, you liken such a value to be a string type of data, right? And then we have another one here, the age being as 30 being assigned to age, right? So if you look at 30 very closely, is a number, and what kind of number is it? It's an integer, right? And then it's a question is not asked, is he a programmer? Yeah, true or false. So you, the reply or the value assigned to this one is true, right? And then being true, we realize that that is a Boolean data type, right? We'll still discuss about data type shortly. And then for constants, by naming convention, pi, uh, is a variable that is bearing the value or that is storing the value 3.14159, right? And then gravity being 9.8, depending on um, the area where you're working with. So we're trying to print out those values now. So, we dealt with the print statements that we said. Whenever you want to print a statement, you can easily come and say print, right? So we print hi. So this will be what's to be printed, right? So now I'm printing, I'm adding a formatting system to this printing. I'll still discuss that as we continue. So I'm saying print my name is, and then before my name is F. So this F represents a formatting method I used. And then my name is open a curly bracket, the variable, right? So this is one of the things that makes this guy dynamic, right? So I said that variables makes your program dynamic and reusable. So this is a very typical example of where I cited the statements from. So I can now call name here. So remember, because it's a variable, it's not this name that will show, but rather the value that is stored in the name is what will appear. And I am age. So the value assigned to age is what should appear as well, right? The same thing is applicable to this one and this other one, right? So if you show run this code now, should be having all of this, right? So let's kill this kernel and try to restart to see what we should be having. Okay, taking longer time, all right? So here are the outputs. My name is Ben and I am 30 years old. The value of I is this, right? Is Alice a programmer? Sorry, rather, this should be Ben because I don't know who is Alice. Alice was used in the previous code rather. So I'm asking them Ben a programmer, and the reply was the value that was assigned to this guy is what becomes the reply, right? So here is just an illustration of a print function. Okay. So the key things you need to take notes from this guy is that variable names should be descriptive, right? So why we say should be descriptive is so that if someone else is reading off your code, that person should be able to, at every point in time, decode what the values represent with respect to the names you give to your variables, right? And that makes it easier for the person to interpret or try to analyze what you're doing. And the use of snake case, right? So what snake case means is just a combination of alphabet, alphanumeric, and then with insertion of how do they call it now? With insertion of uh, underscore keys, right? So once there's an underscore now, you realize that it becomes a snake case. So you have uppercase, we have camel case, and then we have the lower case. So this the inclusion of underscore is what is known as the snake case, right? So it's simply I have something here and I'm coming down, going up again. So just like snake does, right? And then constants are typically declared at the top of a script to avoid modification. So there was this project I worked on. I had to declare some of the constants and the assumptions I made first, right? Before I proceeded to doing every other thing. So let's proceed. Second thing for today should be data types. So data types, Python has various building data types. But we are going to focus on three of them that are most important and most prevalent in data. So we have the numeric, we have strings, and then we have the Boolean types, right? So under the numeric types, we have integers. So these integers now are just whole numbers, right? Whole numbers, be it positive or negative, but they have to just be whole numbers. And then the keyword, sorry, I didn't mention this, the keyword that is used for this integers are int. So wherever you see int, you realize you should note that these are key words, right? And then um another thing we should take note of is the floating points. So we have floating data types. So why we call them floating points is because they have decimal, they have the whole number part and the floating part, right? So they are known as float. So numbers with decimals are just what we know as float or floating points. So we have example 3.14 minus 0.99 and all of that. So complex, we also have complex numbers, the one that has the real parts and the imaginary parts, just like I've shown us here. 2 plus 3J, right? So let's try to perform some simulation on this. So I have integer underscore value, and I have float underscore value, also have complex underscore value. So I want to print all of these guys. I can now say this. All right. So let's check which the data points. Let's check the data types for these guys. Let's see if we are actually correct. So we'll make use of the keyword type and then open a bracket, integer, 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 integer. So if I run this, you see it's telling us that this is an integer. This is an integer. Right. So then the second one, which is let's try to see. It's right. So we have type floats, right? So let's copy this variable name floats, floating var. So what type of data is this? Is it floats, right? So remember I told us whenever you see all these keywords, uh, there are there are pointers to telling you the kind of data type you're working with. So the same thing is applicable to this one. So let's see for complex, right? So for complex value, we have it's telling you that is what is complex. So Python already knows that this guy you put in here is an integer, and this one you put in here is what it floats, and then this one you put in here is a complex number, right? So that is the main, those are the main three types of numeric data types we have. And then we now proceed to strings. So what are strings? If you want to know, string is a sequence of characters, right? The first thing is sequence of characters. So once you have characters in your sequence, and then the major condition for something to be a string, it must be enclosed in quotations. So it's either they are enclosed in a single quotation or in a double quotation or in a quadruplet quotation, right? So this quadruplet is when we're trying to make comments, that's where we see that okay, those guys are actually sorry, triple quotes rather, not double. So it's strings are immutable. So when we mean strings are immutable, you cannot change them once you've created them. So it remains what it is, just like you have created them. So let's look at a typical example. We have string underscore quotes to be equal to hello, right? So this guy is a single quote string, and then the double the double quote string is this guy word. Then the triple quotes is this other one, the multi-line. This is a multi-line string. So if I should print all of this, I should be having this, right? Then if we have that to be the outcome, we can always want to check if can always want to check what kind of data type these guys are. So, let's say type, right? Type of triplex, triple, sorry, what triple quotes is str. Str is just telling you that is a string. Let's come back to this. Okay, here is it. So I was supposed to tell you that this string, the keyword for string is str, right? And then the last data type is Boolean. So how do we know Boolean? Boolean is represents the true or false. Or Boolean represents true or false. So whenever you get true or false, you know that wherever you're working on you tend to see a true or false value. So these guys are usually known as numeral, and these are useful for decision making and for comparison. So when you're trying to make a decision and you're trying to compare a variable with another variable, that's when you know that you're working with Boolean. So if you're asking a question here, is underscore adult, and the value that was assigned to it is what? True, 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 right? And has taking permission, has underscore permission. So this guy, and the value also is what's false. If we should print this and we want to check what kind of data type they are, estimate of the keyword type, and is underscore others. Let's check if this is true. Okay. So it's telling you is what? A bool, a bool, a bool, a bool. Okay. So before we round up on this particular one, so we have type of conversion, data type conversion, data type conversion. You can convert one data type to another using built-in functions like, right? So look at those built-in functions. We have integers, we have floats, we have strings, we have booleans, right? And then we say that int are for integers, floats are for floating point numbers, then str are for what? Strings, then bool are for booleans. So that's what it is. So let's see how we can convert some of these guys to um, other data types. So first of all, let's work through this one. I have okay examples. Enough string. We have a string value. Remember, whenever we have a value that is enclosed in a bracket, we check the type of this value. What type this value is? We see this is a string, right? So, but we want to convert this string to an integer. So to convert this string to an integer, we make use of this conversion, which is make use of this conversion. This should be int open bracket string underscore value, right? So if we should print what type is this guy now, int value. So the same thing is what is an integer. So if you look very closely, okay, let's print this guy. And let's print the data type and the value. And the value is sorry, the value should be st underscore value. So I have this. So you see very closely the data type is string and is what 100, right? The value is 100. Let's do the same thing here and see this one. But I'm thinking of points and there's value. So right, we are having integers and then it's still 100, that is the value that's assigned to it. And the same thing is applicable for converting from integers to floats, right? So there are some conditions that I have noticed for a while that we we can convert from strings to integers, and then we can convert from integers to floats, right? So I can also convert these floats into booleans. So, but what will happen? The only response or the only value that is allowable when you're dealing with a boolean is a true or a false, right? So, invalid conversion example will be maybe you're trying to convert a string, a series of characters that are alphabets. So we do this. So let's try to do this. Let's see if there will be an error, right? So the first error is improper indentation, indents, improper indents. Okay, let's try to bring it this way. Let's see. Okay, invalid literal for int with base 10. So integers has to be numbers that are on that base 10, right? So that is why this will be an invalid code, right? So I have a simple practice for us, for you rather. So the first is on basic or simple arithmetic operation. So we know of these operators. We have the addition, we have the subtraction, asterisk for the multiplication, and then forward slash for division. Then there's something known as the floor division rather, right? So the floor division, it returns the whole part and ignores the floating parts, right? While for modulus returns the remainder and the remainder alone. And then we have double asterisks for exponentiation. So I assigned a value 15 to A, assign a value 4 to B. So the first line of code here, after the assignment, is the addition A plus B equals to this, right? So I'm saying that this guy should print addition A plus B. So the value of A there is what 15, then plus this. So everything there should come out in terms of a string. Then when it comes out in terms of a string, I should now be having the operation done here, being that I'm adding the values of A to that of B, and the results should be given. That's the same thing that's applicable for all of them. So when you do this, when you run this, it should be giving us addition 15 plus 4 is 19, minus 4, 11, 15 times 4 is 60. Then the division should be 3.75, and then for the flow division, remember, if I'm using the floor division, I need to have just the whole part. So having the whole part, we require that the 0.75 is removed, right? Then I also have modulus. So under the modulus part, I'm only required to have the remainder rather. So if I divide 15 by 4, I divide 15 by 4, I should now be having 3 as the reminder, right? Then exponentiation, I have 15 raised to power 4 to this, right? So that gives us that is that for the basic of the simple arithmetic operation. So let's look at string manipulations. So one thing about string manipulation is that it will help during your data cleaning, um, uh, during your data cleaning, and during time for data cleaning. So when it's time for data cleaning, you require this string manipulation, but then you'll be working with pandas, the library that will help you manipulate your data in a larger format, not just a line or a few data points. No. So you're working with a larger data point. So strings can be manipulated using slicing. So when you're slicing, so one thing about slicing is that it has a start point and an end point, right? So the first is your start point and then your end point. So this start point and end points are your index numbers, right? So let's say, for instance, I have, what example can I give very quickly? I have that name. Okay, I have string value to be equal to trust or true. So this name being equal to true, I have this true to be a value. As true being a value, the first letter in this true becomes the first index value. So how indexing works is that when you have, okay, let's say we have true, then this is how the index values are going to work. T will have 0, R will be 1, U will be 2, and E will be 3, right? So if I'm to take the index value for, let's say, string, then index value of 0, we see what should happen here is 1, right? So, but let's run this part first and confirm that our code is working well, because right now this guy is misbehaving. Okay, so okay, let me run this one. I run this and then I go there, right? So this is what I was talking about. So 0 represents C. So if I change it to 2, it should be giving me what? U, because 0 is T, R is 1, U is 2, E is is 3, right? So that's for indexing. So if I want to now slice, so slicing has to do with taking a range of values. So let's say, for instance, I want to pick TR. I can easily say T being my start point 0, and then what do they call this guy now? A colon is now assigned to it. So I 0 to 2. So one beautiful thing is that when we are slicing, the start point will be included, but the end point is not always inclusive, right? So what it means is that I'm starting from 0 to 2, I'll be having TR, right? Because I have 0, T to represent 0, R to represent 1, and then U for 2, but U will not be printed out because um, the start point ought not to show. So this is a simple slicing that we have done, right? So let's go forward to see how we can slice this text. So I have a keyword, sorry, I have a variable known as text, and what is the value? Hello, open, oh, sorry, hello, comma, Python, how do they call it? Exclamation sign, right? Then once you print just the first later, I'm sorry, the first word being hello, right? So we can copy this hello guy and let's see what we can, let me see what we can achieve. So we have text, so we have 0, 0, 0 to 5, right? So we have 0 to, right? So you see it will be yellow, right? So yellow. Why is yellow? Is because this guy is 0, H is 0, 1 is E, 2 is L, 3 is L, 4 is 0, and 5 is what? Comma. But because we don't want comma to show, that's why we included 5. So, but if the comma has to show, we need to add 1, 6, right? And run this. So you realize that the 6 will show, right? So let's take this guy back to 5, and this is it. Okay. So the same thing is applicable. Okay, that one is applicable for slicing, right? So this is the first slicing method. That's the use of index numbers. Another thing I need to explain was the reverse count of our index. So because I said this guy will be our 0, this guy will be our 1, this one will be our 2 and 3. So moving to the right, we have it positive, increasing, right? Then moving to the left is negative, decreasing, negative, decreasing. So here will be -1, U will be -2, R will be -3, T will be -4, right? So that is what it is. So if I should say, now that take -2, so it will now be N, right? Because if you look at Python, -1 should be exclamation sign. So let's see. -1, right? Okay. This is our exclamation sign. Then there are other methods like the use of strip. So strip is it removes what's leading / trailing white space. So it will remove the white space in between. So if I should take this guy now, right, if I should take this guy and do this, right, so I should be having I should be having text.strip, right? And then trim dot underscore, sorry, upper. So for upper, it converts it to uppercase. For lower, so if I have this so let's see text upper L, right? And then text lower, text lower. Okay. Text lower. Text lower should be lowercase, right? So let's see it's in lowercase, right? So it's converted back to lowercase and all of that. Then there is split. That's what it does, is that it just splits it to split the statement into list of words, and then we join into a single string. So it converts from list to string, right? So let's see what I can do here. Okay, no, let's go. Okay, so if you look at this very closely, we have Hello, we have Python, right? And then string. So these are just what I've done up here. These are the same thing I'm repeating. So additional practice is how to calculate, how to do some basic calculations. So calculating the radius of the circle using constant of pi. So just declare the radius to be 7, area main equal to what, pi. Remember our operator single slash, which is, I'm sorry, single asterisk, which is times, then this guy is the radius square, right? So this is our exponential, our exponentiation. Then the area of this is what? So the radius come outside, the value for radius, which is 7, will come here and is what? Pi times radius times what? 2. So we should run the square, we'll be having this. The radius of the circle is what? 1. Sorry, the radius is 7, and then the area will be what? 157.98, right? We're combining strings and numeric type in our message. So we have name to be Bob, and his age is 25 years old. So I want to combine string and age and numerics. So I have a message like this that my name is this, and I am this old. So whenever you want to include a variable in between your message or in between your line of code that are strings, you make use of this guy F. This F is just a formatting tool that helps you, that allows you to include your variable. And then remember, so my name is Bob, and I am what? 25 years old. So checking if there is an odd number. So how do we check odd number? We'll still do this later on. Just a quick one. Number being equal to 13. So how do we check if it is odd? If it is only odd when you divide it by 2 and it has a remainder, but I then give a condition that if I divide this guy by 2 and it doesn't have a remainder, that number is what, and the remainder is equal to 0, rather, that number is what is an even number, else is what an odd number. Once you run this, you realize that 13 is what an odd number. So converting from Celsius to Fahrenheit, the same thing just simulates the formula for a Fahrenheit conversion, and then you include it here. So you realize this is going to give us this. So let's create a customized greeting based on time of the day, right? So at hour 1500 is going to be afternoon. So you have at hour 09, let's say for instance, or 9, what should it be? Morning, right? Then we will customize this to our 7:16. We still afternoon. How about we say 22? So this guy should be evening. But optimizing this code should allow us to greet for night and the rest of the days. So this is where I'll be ending today's on, and I will upload the video. And I think I should upload the video. I just send you the link so that um you don't spend so much data downloading and all that. So not spending much data actually. Sure. So I will still make another video for the day 3. Otherwise, I will post everything for that. Thank you so much. If you have a question, you can always chat me up.